Chapter 10. Life in Chile and my Latin American friends. I've just told you about my Argentine love in Chile. It's time to tell you about my Chilean friends, a Venezuelan woman, a Brazilian woman, and a Russian man. In fact, during my travels, I've realized one thing: life is about relationships. Throughout our lives, we strive to build different types of relationships with many people. We need various relationships: love, friendship, marriage, parenting, companionship, and more. It is likely that all these types of relationships exist in God's world, otherwise they would not exist here on earth, since this world is a reflection of the spiritual world from whence we all came. So wrote Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Otherwise, how can it be that there is something here that is not in a world more perfect but not distorted like ours? And in Chile, as well as in Brazil, I met real friends who helped me in a difficult moment. I must admit why I came to live in Chile: for the sake of the one I was attracted to. It's simple. But in the end, we didn't work out, and I decided to leave the country. But in the 5 months I spent in the city of Santiago, I met some great friends. These are two super girls who became my real sisters, Carla and Etta. Carla is from Venezuela and Etta from Brazil. Their spiritual names are Krishnapriya Devi Desai and Indimti Devi Desai. They always helped me, supported me in everything, not criticized, always very skillfully expressed, carefully treated my relationship with the girl, and tried to always keep strong ties. Cheered, inspired, praised, and fun. They introduced me to Krishna devotees from several temples, to Carlito from Peru, and to Colombian Krishna devotees. They constantly invited me to all kinds of events, took me to the mountains and geysers, and generally just to walk around, see the city and its beauty, both in the capital itself and beyond. They were very active, which I liked immensely. They were as alive as possible, sincere, honest personalities, without falsehood and hypocrisy. And I really loved them, like my own sisters. I've never had any sisters, and I've always wanted to have at least one sister. It's happening. 2 whole sisters. The neighborhood where the girls lived was called Puente Alto, and it wasn't rich, but it was quite simple and densely populated. Many of the houses were made of thin wood, and you could hear the neighbors talking to each other through the walls, even as they walked up and down the stairs. The streets were always busy at night, with bonfires burning in barrels, just like in American movies from the 1980s and 1990s. On these barrels, people were cooking all sorts of dishes along the evening streets, and loud music was coming from various places. The neighborhood was bustling with life. I loved this about it. There were also entire blocks filled with dozens of defective cars parked around the block, one after the other, and almost every yard had a workshop where they were fixed. Chileans are also big kite flyers, especially the children. They fly them all around. I've seen it hundreds of times. Many of the kites get tangled in the branches of the trees or in the wires, and they stay there. Chileans are also football fans, just like Brazilians. When they have a football match, they gather in huge crowds and shake the avenues and streets with their loud cheers, walk with flags and drums, and shout wildly. In fact, there are frequent demonstrations in Santiago itself, with the authorities blocking the central avenue and allowing chanting crowds to walk back and forth. I saw something similar in Brazil, in São Paulo, on the famous Paulista Avenue. They regularly speak out against something, either gay protests, parades in defense of black slaves of the past who suffered from the colonialists, or something else. Brazil is a country of immigrants, and Chile has a lot of immigrants too, but almost all of them are other Latin Americans, and it's hard to find people with European or Asian looks, although there are plenty of Chinese markets, shops, and restaurants, just like anywhere else in the world. In Chile, I loved the endless musicians on the subway and in the streets, the dance classes in the evenings at the stadiums, the view of the mountains and the beautiful sunsets, the abundance of parks, which was not the case in São Paulo, where I was suffocated by the industrialization that was only offset by the lush vegetation everywhere. There are also interesting artworks on the houses in Chile, which are often attractive. However, I would not say that I enjoyed living there. I spent 3 months at my sister's house, and then I was lucky enough to meet a happy Russian man who helped me in many ways. And not just me. His name is Alexei. About 10 years ago, he decided to leave Russia because he knew that nothing good awaited the country, only war and prisons for its people. And that's exactly what's happening right now. After all, Alex made his choice for Chile. Here he acquired a house, which he converted into a mini hotel with Spartan conditions in the main, where completely different people settled: Venezuelans, Argentines, Colombians, Ukrainians, and others. His rooms in the house he fondly calls cells, which were partly such, small, cramped, often without windows outside, stuffy, but at the same time in the good part of the city and cheap. Alexei had a lot of good qualities, in particular, enterprise, speed, thoughtfulness of actions, economy, and many other traits of character. He was spinning as he could and in this case was a master. Alexei speaks Russian, Spanish, and English, is engaged with the GPT chat, and also practices astrology. He's an interesting person and a true friend. He took me in, and before me, he took in another Ukrainian named Igor, who also ended up in Chile because of his girlfriend, who left him for a Chilean man. As a result, Igor fell into a prolonged depression, from which he emerged almost a year later. I fully understand why it took so long. I almost started to get depressed when I broke up with my girlfriend, and I had no idea what to do, where to go, or how to live. I was on the verge of falling into a pit of disappointment, and I had put everything on the line. I came to this faraway country just for a woman. But back to Alex, about whom I can't help but write separately. Alex himself is from Russia, and he is a very happy person. He has everything he needs for a great life, a home, a wife, children, a favorite craft, and financial stability. Alex is never bored, and he is always busy and very entrepreneurial. He has never complained about life to me, and he is always content and genuinely happy. The house he purchased was conveniently located in the capital, not far from the presidential palace on Plaza de la Moneda. This is an old part of the city, with rare architecture and cobblestone roads, a large central avenue where crowds of people walk back and forth, like in any capital city in the world. The main square of the city was located 15 minutes away from his house. I often walked there. There are a lot of old churches and temples in Santiago from the colonial times. I used to walk down a street and suddenly I would see another old temple. The streets around are always inhabited by local students, there are a lot of merchants on the avenues, there are dancers, and even those who clean shoes. Prostitutes are also somewhere, but they look terrible. There is also always one guy in the city center who jumps between trees on a stretched rope wearing a Spider-Man costume. Santiago itself is a long capital, a strip. This is the case when you can go in a straight line for a very long time, and you will get to the exact center of the city. There are a lot of beautiful statues and museum decorations inside the houses. The Chileans themselves are big gossips, they love to gossip. At the same time, in Chile, you don't have much to look forward to if you are not a Chilean and do not have local connections, and if you do not speak Spanish. But to be honest, it's the same in most countries. If you're not local or don't have connections, you're out of luck, no matter how hard you try. The chances are slim. Before I flew there, I was told that it wouldn't be too difficult for me, as a white person, in Chile, but this turned out to be untrue. In Chile, only the locals generally feel comfortable, and foreigners have little to gain, even if they were highly skilled professionals in their home countries. Of course, this is the case everywhere, I think, but Chile's economy is not as competitive as that of the United States or Europe, so I would not compare this country with the old world or the American world. Conclusion: tourism in a country and life in a country are two different things, and Chile is no exception in this sense. After a few months of living in this country, I realized that I was starting to get stuck in it. I even started to think that since I had a place to live and my life was starting to get better, there was no reason for me to leave. So I started looking for reasons to stay, even though there were no real reasons. As I've experienced, humans are creatures that adapt to everything and try to establish themselves in every situation, even though my own life has always shown me that this world is temporary and that everything here is temporary. It is unstable and you only become disillusioned with the people and the ideas and doctrines they promote, and it is very difficult to achieve financial success and prosperity. It is difficult to earn a good reputation, but it is easy to lose everything, and by losing you nevertheless gain something new. In the process, many people turn away from us or distance themselves, losing touch with us. At the same time, they are replaced by other personalities who bring new changes to our destiny. And so it goes on. Our every action, our every choice, is a step that determines our future. This may seem predictable, but at the same time, we are constantly unsure of what lies ahead.